This video is on just a general overview of the steps, talks a little bit about rules versus procedures from Harry Wong, and then step one of the process where a student actually does the misbehaving. So just a quick overview of the steps. This is basically the same thing that you guys have been doing in your behavior systems before. A student breaks a rule, you try to deal with it in your classroom. If it gets to a point where it can't be dealt with, or if it's really affecting other students, then you need to notify the admin. In this case it will be me. Instead of doing the paper copy, we now will use a behavior referral form, and we'll go through that so you guys understand what that is and how to use that, and then you'll send to the student to the office as before if you need. If the student goes to the office, they'll now fill out something called a behavior reflection form. I will come to the office if I need to discuss the situation with the student. I'm going to follow up with staff if I need to. I'm going to make decisions based off of reflections, talking with the staff member and the student. I'm also going to use a behavior matrix, which will kind of help guide my decisions in that discipline process. And then I'm going to send out an email or letter if need be to notify the student, the staff member, the families of what happened and then the consequences. And then I'm of course going to follow up a week or so later to make sure that we're all on the same page and everything's still going well. If you guys have read any of Harry Wong's work, he talks about the difference of rules versus procedures. I buy into that, I would say, halfway. So Harry Wong, which I love his name by the way, says that in regards to rules, there should be 3 or 5 rules per class, and those are the only things in a teacher's resource toolkit that should really have consequences. So for our schools, I'm noticing we're using be safe, be respectful, and be responsible. Those are our main rules. So if a student breaks those 3 rules, then there should be consequences, but otherwise everything else should be following under the procedure category. Procedures are just exactly what you think. They're ways of doing things. They're things that need to be practiced. They don't really have consequences if students aren't doing them correctly. Harry Wong says they should just go back and practice them. Some examples would be how to hand in work, when it's okay to talk or not to talk, how to walk down the hall, things like that. So an example would be kids coming back to lunch, they're pushing each other. Maybe that falls under the be safe, they're not being safe category, but probably they just aren't doing that procedure of, walking back to lunch correctly, and so they need to go back and try walking back from lunch correctly like an adult. So that's kind of the difference. Like I said, I buy into it halfway. To me, things are not necessarily either or, they're somewhere in between. So I think we'll need to continue to use our best judgment in that gray zone. Okay, so we went through an overview of the steps. We went through rules versus procedures. Now, step 1, which is the student actually misbehaves in a classroom. To me, there's 2 major types of behavior that can occur in a classroom. Most schools will use like a behavior flow chart to help us through this. I can certainly make one if you guys want that visual. To me, it's just kind of these 2 sides is what the flow chart is showing. So there's either major behaviors over here, or there's minor behaviors. Minor behaviors are going to be things that we should try to deal with in our classrooms ourselves and not refer to the office, because when we refer to those office, we're kind of giving away our credibility and we're losing that respect on behalf of the students. So some minor behaviors include talking and making noises when they aren't supposed to be, chewing gum, being out of their seat when they're supposed to be in their seat, eating and drinking, not doing their work, minor physical altercations, the elbows on the way back from lunch, those types of things, not having their materials, foul language and gestures. Those are minor things that we should deal with in the classroom the best that we can. Some major behaviors are going to be the more obvious things. This is going to be the illegal substances, absence, the habitual truant absences, harassment and bullying, noncompliance and insubordination, theft and vandalism, cheating and plagiarism. Now there are times when these minor behaviors get to be so much that they're distracting students or they're habitual, and so they are considered a major behavior, and that's when we need to either send a student to the office if it has to be, or if it doesn't have to be, we still should let the admin know, and that's going to be through the next step. I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions.